Hello and welcome to my little art channel. I haven't made a video in a hot minute and I hope in another video I can explain why. But for now, please enjoy this very chill little video swatching a beautiful Japanese winter themed Gansai palette from Choosing Keeping. But first things first, holiday hydration. Grab a drink. Hot drinks are almost as important as art, and I'm just as much a tea kleptomaniac as I am with paint. So let's see what's in the tea advent calendar and then we can get to business. This is my first ever purchase from Choosing Keeping. It's a beautiful shop I've had my eye on for years now, and this winter I decided to treat myself to a wintry seasonal palette inspired by nature. I've seen unboxings before from this shop and they're always immaculate and very high quality. Just the packaging alone is just precious. I'm going to have to do this palette justice and pick some appropriately lovely paper. So I went with my trusty paper sample pack and I settled on a Hahnemule The Collection paper with rough texture. I rarely paint on rough paper, but I ended up really liking it for this swatching as it's kind of natural and rustic. Now the paints. I haven't used Gansai much before, but I really like them. They tend to be very good quality of plenty of pigment and similar to Western watercolours in lots of ways. However, the binding agent for these is different, usually glue or glucose based rather than gum arabic, and the paints are more opaque and glossy. Unlike a lot of Western brands, you can also see that the colours tend to be a little less uniform in the sets. Rather than the typical run-of-the-mill colour story, even in a more generalised set, you can get some quirky and interesting colours. These lend themselves very well to these theme sets, like these seasonal ones. I also have the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Art Nouveau set, which I would like to make a video of too. The colours in this are stunning and very easy to re-wet. As you can see, the swatching is very important with Gansai colours, as the colours are not always what they appear in the pan, so very nice of them to include a ready-made swatch card. Our first colour is this lovely cool brown called Ochibacha. I love cool browns, and because I'm lazy I can never be bothered to mix them, but most sets tend to have warm siennas or burnt umber, so I'm very happy to have this. It's great for winter with a slightly burnt ashy granulation and a hint of warmer brown peeking through. It's giving me the impression of iron oxide pigments with the cool, almost ashy, slightly granulating particles. Its name Ochibacha means fallen brown leaves tea. I'll definitely be making this one of my go-to straight out of the pan tree and wood paints. It's so natural looking. Bonus points for the tea reference. Our next colour immediately reminded me of indigo, but a little darker. Turns out that's probably what its name, printed here as Honai, is referencing. I was pretty confused about this name as it didn't seem to be a word, at least according to Google, but the Choosing Keeping website lists this as true indigo. So my theory is it's a variation on konai, which is a type of indigo dyed fabric. A lot of use out of this colour too, as my favourite neutral of all time is Payne's Grey, and this offers a beautiful, more indigo variation of it. I love a moody inky colour. It makes me think of winter storms in a bleak British winter, or maybe that's because some heavy clouds and lightning are descending upon me right now. We have a rich purple colour up next, Fuji Murasaki. I love pink and purple to capture winter. I normally think of these as summer flower colours, but when they're used in a wintry context they can make a lot of sense. Having said that, this colour is named Wisteria Purple, so more of a flower associated with spring, but here the cool deep colour does make sense, perhaps mixed with shadows or a dramatic sky. Moving on to this buff titanium type colour, Amarillo or Flaxen. This colour makes me think of tall winter grasses and barn owls. Again, with this colour being cool leaning, I will use it for loads of natural subjects. Buff titanium is a staple on my palette, and its even cooler slightly yellow brown shade will be well used, I'm sure. Yes, I promise there is paint on my brush. This almost imperceptible on video off-white gofun is referring to the white pigment used as the base for traditional Japanese Nihonga painting. I don't know whether this paint here is made of the crossed shells like the original or it's a hue, but it's actually quite nice to have a white that isn't so run-of-the-mill. No pigment numbers here, but it will make some lovely creamy looking mixes and of course be good for snow and highlights. This blue-green turquoise won me over immediately with its multicolour granulation. It just makes me want to paint with it. It kind of reminds me of a cascade green from Daniel Smith, but more of a pure green-blue. This colour makes me think of water and moss, and its name is Gunroku. It's based on the traditional pigment mix of malachite and azurite, which is very grainy and I imagine very expensive. Which reminds me, I do have a pure malachite watercolour which I need to test out. This is black, or kuro in Japanese. There's a lot of conjecture about whether to use pure black in painting, and I say go for it. It can look a bit naff, especially if you use it to mix in shadows in a full colour natural painting, but it has plenty of imaginative applications. Mind you, I might have preferred a grey in this palette since the other colours are quite fun and imaginative, but it is quite suitable here considering the palette is Japanese and not too dissimilar from ink painting.
PVA.
One of my favourite things in winter are the clear crisp blue skies, which are a rarity sometimes. The two blues included here capture the spectrum of wintry skies from strong azure to icy pale blue. Firstly, this is Ruri Iro, lapis lazuli colour. I wish the Daniel Smith lapis pigment was this blue. While I don't quite agree that this is a truly lapis colour, that would lean towards ultramarine type pigments. It is a nice clear, bright, phthalo looking sky blue. Its counterpart Mizuiro means watercolour. At last, a watercolour. It is so soft looking, like a beautiful ice colour. Honestly, it might be the perfect shade of pastel blue for me. Soft but still has a clarity and airiness. I'll return to the next blue in a little bit, but we'll move on to this rather more practical natural green. The greens here I feel are very similar to sap green and deep sap green. Again, I am lazy and I like to avoid mixing colours sometimes, so I'm always looking for natural greens that can be used straight away. Toki wa iro is a Japanese traditional colour which the Choosing Keeping website says refers to the longevity and unchanging nature of evergreen leaves, seen as good luck in the Edo period Japan. Looking at the colours on Google brings up for this what looks more I would expect from that description, a slightly more turquoise hue than this sap colour, but I feel like this one is more practical for me. Kodai Rokusho is styled after ancient verdigris pigment and is fortunately not poisonous like the original. Like the previous green, it's not as turquoise as its namesake, but to me it's more practical to use straight out of the pan for painting natural subjects. It's kind of similar to Hooker's green, which I guess is a staple of botanical painting. I do love purples, so I'm glad to have another in this palette. Again, I feel like this is a very wintry but soft addition. Aoi Iro is named after hollyhock flowers. I think it pairs very well with the soft pastel blue. It's very pretty and I don't really have any other watercolours like this. This red brings a lovely pop of colour that is exactly like a red winterberry. Shinsa, or cinnabar, is very similar to alizarin crimson, a classic colour for botanical paintings. Kogecha literally means burnt tea. It looks like the colour of hojicha, which is roasted Japanese tea, which is a lovely cosy drink to have in the winter months. I might go make myself a cup right after this now. This colour is similar to burnt umber, which is also slightly granulating and goes well with the cool brown from the start. This is Ginnezu, which means silver mouse, which is just adorable. I know I said I'd have liked a grey in the palette, but I'll take a light grey. Perfect for a grey squirrel or wintry cloud or a silver mouse. Maybe I should paint that. We have silver, now for gold. Kin Odo Iro is a golden ochre, a pretty basic colour but nevertheless a staple one for natural palettes. Great for dry leaves, grasses and animals. I actually quite like this version as it's quite neutral and not as bright yellow as some with the western brands. And that brings me on to the next ochre, Ordo, just ochre. I'm not really sure another was totally necessary, but it is somewhat different. I actually feel that this one has more of a golden feel about it. It makes me think of a dormouse curled up in its little nest. This has more of a feel of ochre with a hint of burnt sienna. Maybe they are missing a trick not calling it kinnezu, golden mouse. This cream colour, Zogeiro, or ivory, is an interesting one, sort of the warm accompaniment to Amairo in the beginning. A very soft looking colour like a fluffy animal tummy. I've never seen a colour quite like this in a watercolour line before. Again, I'm getting barn owl dry grass vibes. Though it does strike me as quite warm for a winter colour, I don't know. Now for the real icing on the icy cake, a pearlescent blue, Paro Out. I'd like to try this on black paper as it's very pretty and would be lovely for adding a touch of sparkle to any painting. It's so finely milled it looks more like ice than glitter. A fair few Gansai palettes include pearlescent colours which I love, and they are so easily rewettable, they are lovely to work with. Last of all, we have a pure silver colour, Gin. And this is where I say, ha, tricked you into a Japanese lesson. Now you can say both gold and silver in Japanese. You really can't see this well on white paper, but again, it's a very fine shimmer and not giving chunks of glitter, easily rewettable, and a lovely way to finish our swatching session. I really love this palette, and I hope, like me, appreciating some of the names and traditional colours in the palette helped you connect with it and get those creative juices going. I may make a video using this palette to make a painting. Let me know in the comments if you like that. Choosing keeping is a bit pricey, but for that special treat you really do get something quality. This is the best Gansai I have tried and it was a dream to work with. I'd really love to try all the other sets that they have. Thank you so much for watching and please subscribe because there will be more videos. Bye bye!